Hidden deep within the Ozark Mountains, isolated from everything, and accessible by a two-lane highway that snakes through the Ozark Mountains. Surrounded by gorgeous Ozark scenery and full of more talent than any other town in the country. A town that will entertain you like no other place in the country, like no other place in the world. Welcome to Branson, Missouri, America's music show capital. What's so special about Branson, Missouri? And why do so many tourists find the appeal so overwhelming? Perhaps it is because Branson has more music theaters than anywhere else in the world. Or could it be the theme parks which have preserved Ozark history so well? Or just maybe it's the exquisite beauty that the Ozarks have to offer. Whatever the appeal, Branson has it. And the attraction is just as appealing for visitors of all ages. Branson provides a unique atmosphere where children of all ages can enjoy good, clean family entertainment. In fact, family entertainment is Branson's theme. Day and night, there's no shortage of places to go or things to do.
Branson offers the largest and most diverse selection of high-quality entertainment that people can find anywhere in the country. It is designed to appeal to the family. Family values are an important part of what we have here, so it's a unique opportunity for visitors to find some of the best quality entertainment anywhere and with enough diversity that they could be here for a month and do something different every day that they're here.
It all started here in Marble Cave. Many years ago, some 500 years, the Osage Indians knew it only as a mysterious black hole. They called it the Devil's Den. The legend tells of a young brave hunting a bear. Both were swallowed by the darkness, never to be seen again. Later, it's believed the Spanish explorers, lowering themselves on long ropes, came searching for the Fountain of Youth. In the 1850s, the miners came, full of dreams of riches, silver and marble. But what they found in a great abundance? Bat guano. It fetched a good price as a fertilizer. Times were good. First, we'll talk about those tourists. Started coming through this cave around the turn of the century. Foreigners, as they were called around these parts, they'd carry lanterns, wear leather-seated breeches, climb down wooden ladders, then slide down the pile of debris that had fallen into the sinkhole, some 20 stories. You might say the cave became more civilized in the 1950s when city folks, Persian was their name, fell in love with the beauty of the Ozark Mountains. They took out a 99-year lease on Marble Cave and started having celebrations, things like square dances.
Put your finger in, do-see-do!
They figured out how to bring them down, what to do with them underground, even how to bring them out in this fancy cable car. You folks have a good time. Bye-bye.
Other events which drew the attention of the vacationing public can be traced to the first years of the 1900s, when Harold Bell Wright's novel, The Shepherd of the Hills, was published. Readers flocked to the Ozarks to learn more about the lifestyle of the characters in his novel. Characters based on people who lived in historic Mutton Hollow.
Harold Bell Wright was one of the best-known writers in the early part of the century. He and Zane Grey were writing contemporary. Harold Bell Wright actually never lived in this area, other than he lived in Pittsburgh, Kansas, and Lebanon, Missouri, and Kansas City, but he never actually lived right here in Branson. But because of his health, he came down here, and he stayed up on what is now known as Inspiration Point. He boarded with a family that lived in Uncle Matt's cabin at that time, and of course they became the prototype for two of the characters in the novel. After he left this area, he became a very well-known author, but it was because of what he did here that he actually got his start.
The many lakes in and around the Branson area were also responsible for the growth of the area, attracting many tourists who came to fish, swim, and enjoy the rugged scenic beauty of the Ozarks. With the completion of the Ozark Beach Dam in 1913, the town of Hollister and then Rockaway Beach became the centers of tourism. However, the focus shifted to Branson in the late 1950s when the construction of Table Rock Dam, 22 miles up the White River, formed Table Rock Lake and transformed Lake Taneycomo into a cold water compound.
They started construction on Table Rock Dam in 1952. That was the groundbreaking ceremonies. In 1955, they started pouring the concrete, and then in 1958, they finished pouring the concrete and worked on the powerhouse itself. We give tours of the powerhouse and Table Rock Dam Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. every half hour. And the tour takes you through the powerhouse itself, shows you all the generators and how we produce the electricity, and then we actually go inside the dam to show you why we are here. Most tours of powerhouses throughout the United States are not given as frequently as we are, simply because of Branson and the amount of people that come through. Last year we gave tours to over 20,000 people in Table Rock Dam, which made us the third most visited dam in the United States. And it's very interesting, and it is free.
With the lake area being the major draw to the Branson area, it was only obvious to an ambitious entrepreneur that this is the place to be. Branson's resounding music industry began more than 30 years ago when the Maid Brothers, calling themselves the Bald Knobbers, established Branson's first country music show on the banks of Lake Taneycomo, and the Branson area has never been the same.
We was playing for the fun of it mostly, you know, and we seen it was picking up pretty good, so we got to thinking, well, if we can make $50 a week, we'd quit our public jobs, and we did after we got to making $50 a week, so making 60 now.
1960, Main Street, Silver Dollar City.
Vacationers heading for the hills of the Ozarks are finding a new form of entertainment at Marble Cave near Branson, Missouri.
Silver Dollar City has fun in the past. Now past meaning about 100 years ago in the past, long about 1880. Ozark fun at its best. Now we have the most beautiful Ozark hills right here. Our buildings and our people are just as something to sit back and just to be awe-inspired. We have rides, great rides. We have crafts. And folks sitting here are going to tell you how they're done and how they was done in 1880. And we have music. Oh, the music we have. Well, we have over 7 shows going on all the time, simultaneously at the same time, if you will. Well, we also have entertainers. We have some funny townsfolk that live out around here. They're a bit odd, but we tolerate them, and we think you will too.
You know, folks are always asking, why do they call it Silver Dollar City?
Why, it was a promotion, Gene. You know, advertising back in the old days by word of mouth. Why, we used to give silver dollars as change here at this place, and then the folks would take them home, and they'd tell other folks all about this place.
Yep, Silver Dollar City. Also opening in 1960, and just a few miles east of Silver Dollar City, Dr. Bruce Trimble and his wife Mary opened an outdoor pageant based on the world-famous novel, The Shepherd of the Hills. The outdoor pageant was held on the actual site where the models for author Harold Bell Wright's characters lived.
The Ross family, John and Anna Ross, and their son Charles, moved down here in 1884. They homesteaded 160 acres, and they built this log cabin you see behind me in 1884. This was their home for many years. Mr. Wright, the author of The Shepherd of the Hills, Harold Bell Wright, was passing through this part of the country and stopped for a visit. He was on his way south and couldn't get across the White River. It was up out of its banks, and was told that this would be a good place to spend the night, that the folks here were friendly and he could find a place to stay. Well, he really was impressed with the area, the countryside, and the folks that lived here. So he just stayed on. He spent 6 summers here compiling notes for the book, The Shepherd of the Hills. In the 20s, in the mid-1920s, a lady from Springfield named Lizzie McDaniels bought the property from young man in the book, Charles Ross, and decided to keep the cabin open for the story's sake, just for folks and history and everything else. And she kept the cabin open, and she had tours running through it. She kept the property until 1947, when she died, and the Trimble family bought the property and kept it open as a historic landmark and gave guided tours across the homestead. That was just about it. They did have a museum, and they had horseback rides. Since the Snaden family has bought the property, we still continue with the guided tour in our Jeep-drawn conveyances. We have Clydesdale wagon rides, we have horseback rides, we have Inspiration Tower. That's all included in your daytime ticket.
The Shepherd of the Hills is a family-oriented presentation with excitement and enjoyment for every member of the family.
Well, we are definitely rated G. I mean, we're about as G as you can get, with a possible exception of maybe a little bit of violence. We do, like I said, have a fight scene, and we do have a shootout. I don't use any blood in the show, any fake blood. We used to, but I cut that out. There's absolutely no swear words in the show. It has a great moral basis to it. As a matter of fact, at the end of the show, when you think that everything is going to end sort of tragically, we pull a rabbit out of the hat with a special effect that turns the whole thing around, and in the epilogue, the last statement is the end of life as we know it, the end or the beginning, and our special effect turns the whole thing into a very happy ending. So as far as the show goes, you get a little bit of everything. I guarantee you'll have at least a half a dozen good belly laughs and a number of chuckles on top of that through the show. It will make you angry at times. If you don't really watch yourself, in the end of the show, you'll find a lump in your throat and a tear in your eye. And it really draws on all of your emotions. And it's a very entertaining evening. It's a lot of fun.
Following in the footsteps of the Ball Knobbers in 1967, the Presley family built the Presley Mountain Music Jubilee on what is now Branson's famous 76 Country Boulevard. This was the first of many to build along the famous 76 Strip. In 1968, the Ball Knobbers moved their show from the banks of Lake Taneycomo to their new theater, which was also built on the Strip. The two family music shows and their fans spurred development on West 76. The 10-mile stretch between the downtown Branson area and the two major family attractions, Silver Dollar City and the Shepherd of the Hills Homestead and Outdoor Theater, began to fill with other tourism businesses.
It really changed. I mean, you could, back then you could drive 70 miles an hour on 76, and now you go bumper to bumper. An old man could be walking down with a cane right now and can beat the traffic.
1970 saw the arrival of Mutton Hollow Craft and Entertainment Village. The village was named for the old shepherd, the Shepherd of the Hills, who herded his flocks of sheep into the hollow. Mutton Hollow is host to many craftsmen who share their crafts with visitors, as well as many fine musicians who will entertain you while you visit the village.
Mutton Hollow started out as just a small craft village with Sammy's little restaurant and the candy, Grandpa Davis's candy, and some few craft shops. We had a dirt road. We had just people who were really interested in the native crafts. And from that, we have expanded throughout the years until last year we did a major renovation. We have 40 acres of entertainment and crafts at Mutton Hollow. We have crafts that include your stained glass. These are craftsmen who are demonstrating every day. We have, besides the stained glass, we have our pottery. We have broom makers. We have candy makers. We have a new one this year, which is the painted gourd. It's real interesting. The family, they grow these gourds from seed. They plant them, they cure them, they paint them, and it's really a neat craft. And that is done locally here in the Ozarks. We have 5 theaters and 40 shows a day, of which is a lot of entertainment. We have pure country. We have a family, the France family, of which are a wonderful family of a man and a woman and their 5 children. We have others in the entertainment field. We have comedy. We have the vaudeville act with Tom and Janie. We also have, for the children or for the young at heart, we have our carnival rides, the old antique carousel. 1932, I believe, was when this was made. We have a Ferris wheel. We have, new this year, a tilt-a-whirl, which has been a real hit with everyone.
The village opened in 1970 with Amanda's Quilt Shop, which is still in operation, along with more than 30 craft and specialty shops. There's always someone ready and willing to share their craft with you.
The friendliness of the folks is something that, to be in the Ozarks, we really care. We care for those guests that are coming in. We want them to have a good time.
1974 saw the arrival of a new theater on the Strip when the Foggy River Boys relocated their theater from Kimberling City to Branson. Performing music you remember from the past, music you love from today, and even music in the gospel tradition.
We do current country songs, and then we reach back and do some old standards as well. You know, people like to hear those older songs as well as the current songs, and so we try to go back, like, for instance, our girl, the young lady that sings on the show, Shauna Smith, sings Walking After Midnight, which is a great old standard, and then we do Please Release Me and some different things that I can think of right off the bat, but as well as some current songs as well. So we try to do, in the country field, a little bit of everything. Then we do some, you know, Broadway things. I have known that we've done, like, Impossible Dream, different things from Broadway tunes. We do some barbershop through the years. We do a lot of a cappella things. So we try to do just a variety, not just strictly what you might think of as just straight country songs.
The Foggy River Boys continue to carry on the same traditions that were started when the theater first opened in 1974. In 1983, Branson saw its first link to a widely known entertainer when Roy Clark lent his name to the Roy Clark Celebrity Theater. The theater brought top names into the theater, making Branson a larger tourist attraction. Although the theater carried the name Roy Clark, Mr. Clark did not own the theater himself until 1991, when he and his bass player Rodney Lay purchased the theater. In the following decades, dozens of music shows have followed the lead of these great pioneers and have established theaters within a 3-mile stretch on or near West 76. Today, more than 30 theaters are home to more than 40 different shows. 1984 was the arrival date of John and Paul Cody, who brought their talents to the Starlight Theater.
So we got started back in music back at the Grapevine Opry down in Texas.
In Grapevine, Texas.
And then the lady, Cheeside Childs, that had that place, had called us up one day, said, I'd like y'all to come up to Branson. Well, I, to be honest, had never heard of Branson at that time. This is back in 1984. And I said, what's going on up in Branson? She said, well, it's a little town of about 2,500 was the population at that time. And I said, well, why in the world are you up in Branson, Missouri, a little town? She said, there's about 16 theaters. Of course, now they have, I don't know how many theaters, 25 or 30 or something. But she said, I'd like y'all to come up. We came up to Branson, toured all the area, just fell in love with the place. And she said, I'd like y'all to become regulars. So we got started at the Starlight Theater, which is now Christy Lane's. And then we played
musical theaters.
Yeah, we went over to Country Music World, which is now Mickey Gillies.
Which is not even Mickey Gillies anymore because it's burned down.
Then we went across the street to where John Davidson is. We had our own show called Cody Country. For 2 years, we were leasing the building. Then a fella from Texas came in and bought it. And then
Jim Stafford
bought it from him. So then we came over to Walsing Waters, and we've been here going on 2 years. Well, first of all, they're going to see something entirely different than anybody else in town has from the standpoint of we're doing shows in front of the fountains. We have fountains that are 40 feet high, 60 feet wide, 40,000 gallons of colored water, beautifully choreographed, everything that we're doing on stage. So it's a very unique kind of show from that aspect. And like I said, John and I have been singing for many, many years together. And you hear a lot of good harmony. And
we do anything from
country
George Jones to Neil Diamond. Just do some country, do some pop, do some
Beauty and the Beast and some show tunes.
Show tunes, all kinds of different material.
1987 saw the arrival of 3 new theaters, including famed hobo Boxcar Willie, Campbell's Ozark Country Jubilee, and the 76 Music Hall. Being reared on country music, freight trains, and hobos could have a definite effect on a young boy. And for one young Texan, those early years would someday be the kind of things legends are made of. With a railroad man as the head of the household and a train yard for a backyard, Boxcar learned a great deal about train hobos. These men taught him a lot with their tall tales and vagabond lifestyle. It's no wonder that Boxcar headed down the tracks to become Branson's famed hobo.
I saw a hobo in a boxcar in Lincoln, Nebraska, who looked like a friend of mine named Willie Wilson. And I had hoboed when I was 15 and 16, and this guy in the boxcar looked like Willie Wilson. I said, well, there's my buddy Willie in the Boxcar Willie. And I wrote a song called Boxcar Willie. And that's where the idea came from. And I always had it in the back of my mind that that'd be a good image to take, and I wouldn't be a fake either since I had hoboed, so that's how it evolved.
During his early years, Boxcar held many jobs, from being a disc jockey to a flight engineer, while still playing his music part-time. Boxcar Willie became Branson's first permanent major star to make his home in the Branson area.
Well, I worked at Swiss Villa, and then I noticed that we had different crowds for the morning show, or their afternoon show, and the night show. And I said, well, by God, this might give me a chance to get off the road, because I've been working 318 days out on the road for the past 10 years. And I saw this theater here empty, and I worked for Jim Thomas right across the street. And when I went over to the plantation to eat dinner, I noticed this theater being empty here, and I said, yeah, that's what I want. So it was just a spur of the moment thing. There was no planning in it, you know, just boom, that's what I'm going to do. They expect to see country music, and that's exactly what we give them, is pure country music. I do Roy Acuff, I do George Jones, I do Hank Williams, I do Boxcar Willie. Country music.
Boxcar Willie is proud to be the 60th member to be inducted into the Grand Ole Opry. A long longtime favorite, the Ozark Country Jubilee, got its roots when Red Foley began his television show, the Ozark Country Jubilee, in Springfield, Missouri. When his show ended, Mr. Foley began performing to live audiences in Springfield and later moved to Branson, where they have entertained visitors since 1987. The theater offers great entertainment by the Ozark Country Jubilee Band, as well as guest stars who perform throughout the year.
Oh, they're getting the best of both worlds. Of course, you know, Branson was built up from the local hometown shows, which people for years have come to see. And not only are they seeing the Jubilee show that is that same hometown local talent, they're also getting to see the stars. So people that you might say are undecided as whether they want to go see a star or see the shows that have started it all, they're getting the both here at the Jubilee. And like I said, you're getting all the musicians who have won OMA awards here in the Ozarks. We've got Mr. Piano, Tracy Houston. He's got the fastest fingers in Branson. Of course, the whole band is known as the
fastest 60 fingers in Branson.
That's
the
right,
band.
the band.
They're all wonderful.
Fabulous, you know.
And you know, they did the 2-hour show here for years, so this year they just decided to bring the stars in. So like she said, you're getting the best of both worlds. But everybody here, this is our first year here, but everybody, you know, knows Tracy. Carlotta Gale's got a fan club even that she's brought down, and she's been here, Lord, 8 or 9 years.
And Pete
George
Moss.
And Pete Moss.
You can't forget old Pete Moss. He's just hilarious. People love the comedy that along with the music, the jokes and the funnies and everything else, and he's among the best. He'll surprise you. He will surprise you with the things that he says, and he's fabulous.
The spirit comes alive at the 76 Music Hall, where the talents of several very versatile groups share the same stage, providing entertainment for the entire family throughout the entire day. Opening their doors in 1987, the 76 Music Hall has been home to many different groups throughout the years.
We do Bob Wills music, and we do a whole segment on that. In the second half, we do whatever the folks want to hear. They do a request deal, and they pick out songs. If we don't know them, we'll make them up. We do traditional to Hank Williams, to Bob Wills, and to Alan Jackson or George Strait, what's current now, and Mark Chestnut. You know, just anything that's going on in country music, we try to do all of it.
Well, the Brumley Music Show is, we started here in 1988, and we've been here 5 years now. This is our 5th year, and we do a lot of my father's songs. He wrote the great gospel songs like I'll Fly Away and Turn Your Radio On, and I'll Meet You in the Morning, and about 800 of them altogether. And we do some of those in the show. A lot of talented people on the show with us, you know, that Chester Drawers, Eddie Bowman, our comedian, and Jeannie D, and the Davis sisters, and my sons, Tommy and Todd, and John Conley, guitar player, great guitar player, and Steve Watts on piano. Have Scott Josh, who plays fiddle with the White Yoakum, is on our show when he's not out with the White. He's here with us, and he's a great talent that you'll enjoy. And have a lot of us on the show. There's 12 of us all together, I think.
They're going to see music from the 40s to the 90s. 40s is going to have the big band. They're going to see music titled Them Their Eyes. Splinter Middleton does some country western music from the 40s. The 50s we go into doing the sock hop and old Elvis tunes, Heartbreak Hotel. The Memory Maker band does wonderful 50s music, bop music. 60s, Patsy Cline, that's a favorite of many, many folks, and that doesn't matter. Again, that's an era where kids even now in their teens know who Patsy Cline is, and that's pretty amazing. We go to 70s and do Roll Back the Rug, and we get into the 80s and we do some rap music, and 90s we get into some gospel, and you'll hear some patriotic, and it's just a bit of everything.
Opening in 1989 were the Soji Tabushi Show, featuring a Japanese violinist, and the Christy Lane Theater, featuring gospel great Christy Lane. Lane, who opened a theater on the famous 76 Strip, is well known for her hit record, One Day at a Time, plus many other well-known and favorite songs which she performs regularly at her theater.
I didn't get involved in music until I was married. My husband heard me singing in the kitchen and sent tapes around, and from there, that's history. I heard a song on the radio coming back from a show one night, and I thought, what a beautiful song. And I don't know if it was getting much reaction or anything, but I started putting it in the shows, and people started requesting it. And we went in and decided to record it, and the people really enjoyed the song One Day at a Time, got a lot of good feeling out of it, and I did too. And so we recorded it, it became a million seller, and I have just been eternally grateful to the people, you know, ever since that song. I got tired of the road. I've been on the road for about 25 years, and just wanted to settle down, have my own theater where I could do the songs that I wanted to do, and found this theater available, and we bought it in 1990, and this has been my home ever since. Well, we try to give them a variety of country songs, popular songs, and a lot of gospel too, and hopefully that they will enjoy what they hear.
By the beginning of 1990, tourists had become even more interested in the Branson destination as big names continued to flock to the area. Mel Tillis purchased land in 1990, in which he built the Mel Tillis Theater. And Jim Stafford opened his show first at a local theater, and then later in 1993 built his own theater on the 76th Strip.
Well, I've been coming here since '83 and trying to move here since that same time period, and just managed to work it out in '90, and haven't looked back at all. I think this is one of the great special places on this earth. I really do. I think there's something. It's almost like there's just something here that is very special. A lot of people recognize that, I think. Well, I can't tell you much because our show is based an awful lot on the surprise factor. We have lots and lots of surprises in the show, and I can't really give them away, but I can tell you this. It's party time and my turn with the lampshade. Well, I want them to want what I would want in the show. I want them to feel like they saw something that went by really fast, that had a lot of things happening, that was entertaining, and that worked for them and their kids. I like to say that my show is a show that kids can bring their parents to.
Jim is an inspiration to his guests, who will never know what to expect next. He does, however, share one philosophy with many of Branson's residents, as well as many of Branson's guests.
Well, I think happiness is what you have to try and achieve. It doesn't much matter. Money doesn't much matter in the long run. Somebody once said that money will just keep you in touch with your kids. I think the truth of it is that money isn't going to necessarily make anybody happy any more than living in the right place or whatever. I think that what makes you happy comes from within inside. It's what, you know, and what makes me happy is just my family.
1991 saw the arrival of still more big names when Ray Stevens held a grand opening for his Oasis Theater, as well as Mo Bandy and his Americana Theater. The two entertainers helped to bring in more visitors than ever before, and Branson continued to be one of America's #1 vacation destinations.
Well, I was raised around rodeos all my life. I raised on a ranch, and we worked cattle and worked as a cowboy. I rode a horse and worked cattle, built fences, did all that. And it was like a sport to us. I started riding calves when I was a little kid. And it was just like Little League Baseball. We went into rodeo. And so I went into to something that I had been doing on the ranch, and started out with the youth rodeos and rode in the youth rodeos, and then later on went on and rode in the rodeos around Texas. They were the big ones. Well, one of the reasons the main reason I left the rodeos is I was really getting banged up. I broke a lot of bones and was getting beat up pretty bad. And I wanted to play music. I wanted to get into something that I felt like my heart was in it more. My brother went the other way. He felt like he wanted to rodeo more, and he had a great career. But the music was where I wanted to go. I had been to Nashville many, many times, and I remember many days in the cold, snowing and everything else, walking down Music Row looking for songs, going to publishing companies. And I tried that over and over, couldn't get a hit, and we had one more shot at it. I told my wife, I said, I want to do it one more time. And I had to borrow money against our furniture to do it. And I went, and luckily I cut a hit. I don't recommend that for people, but that's what happened. Well, I played a rodeo. I played music at a rodeo 17 years ago. And I was so impressed with this area, this part of the country, that I went back to San Antonio, Texas, and I got my family, and I had a little break in the touring, and I brought them to Branson. We spent 2 weeks here. And at that time, I think there was only like 2 theaters, and we went to a show. And I was very impressed with this area, with the beauty of the country. And then later on, I started playing at Lowe's Theater down here, and then I could see what was happening, and the great audiences. The people sit there and listen to every word, and it was my kind of thing.
The Branson music history took another huge jump in 1992 when 4 new theaters first opened their doors to the public. John Davidson, the Osmond Family, the Grand Palace, and Andy Williams' Moon River Theater each opened in '92, and each theater added their own unique styles to the area.
Well, the whole idea that I had about the outside of the theater was to make it look sort of like the environment around Missouri, all of the highways that go through the rocks. And all I could see one night I woke up, and I'd been thinking about this for quite a while, several weeks, about what is the outside of this building going to look like. And so finally, one morning I woke up and said, this is it. We'll make it look like the highways going through it. And then instead of a highway going through it, we'll have this building coming through these rocks. So that's what happened. I do some of the songs that I'm well known for. I do a medley of songs from films. I do Moon River and The Days of Wine and Roses, Charade, Call Me Irresponsible, Born Free, things like that, from movies. So that sort of takes care of what people may want to hear me do, that they know me from those songs. And then we do things with, we have a choir, big choir, and we do some gospel music. It isn't a gospel show by any means, but we do a gospel medley that's about 8 minutes long. And then I do White Christmas with the choir, even though it's July. Do some interesting kind of things, I think.
In high school, I played in a little rock and roll band. I played the guitar. And I was inspired by people I saw on television. Ozark Jubilee. I used to watch Ozark Jubilee every weekend, with Red Foley hosting and Slim Wilson Orchestra and all. So I bought my first guitar to play like the guys in Ozark Jubilee, but that was just really fooling around. Then I went away to college and became a theater arts major and really decided I'd go to Broadway. So I started on Broadway. I guess that's... And then it was from there that I developed the personal appearance show playing John Davidson that I'm doing now, is when I left Broadway. I grew up, my dad was a Baptist preacher, and the point was, what are you going to do for people? I have 2 brothers that are doctors. My other brother was a math teacher. So I had to figure, what am I going to do for people? And I figured that entertaining people is pretty good therapy. When Andy Williams made it, that meant that maybe a popular music show could make it. And so I came in during the first year that Andy came in, last year. And Jim Stafford gave me my break. He let me do matinees in his theater. And now I'm leasing that theater this year, and it's the John Davidson Theater. This is the most exciting adventure I've ever done, the biggest challenge. I've never before put my name out in front of a theater and said, this is the John Davidson, you know. It's the biggest thing in my life. Hollywood Squares was fun. That's Incredible was incredible. And my talk show and all the travel. I played Vegas for years, all through the 70s and 80s. But there's no bigger thrill than being able to really decide what the ushers will wear, what you sell in your lobby, what you put on the popcorn, what the theater looks like. This is the biggest thrill of my life. And Branson gives a performer a chance to sleep in his own bed. I'm only in Branson now. I don't travel. I live here. It's my only home. There's something about Branson that is a little oasis where people are nice to each other. And I want to live and perform in Branson for the rest of my life.
Originally, what happened is Andy Williams, our good old buddy, came up to Utah and told us all about Branson. He was building a theater at the time. We didn't know anything about Branson, so we checked into it. Our younger brother Jimmy came here and came back and gave us a report saying that, guys, this could be something that we could spend years and years enjoying and doing. And so we all came about a year and a half ago and found this theater and worked out the arrangements, and we're sure glad that it happened the way it did.
Well, compared to touring and having our theater here, there's a vast difference. In fact, that's one of the things that appealed to the family. And coming to Branson, moving all of our families from Utah, is that we could stay in one place and not have to travel all over the country and all over the world, but to stay and do 2 shows a day, except Sunday, and to perform in front of a live audience, which is a lot more fun than actual doing TV, and work together as brothers and see the response from them, and to meet the people that come on the buses. That's fun, and it's a whole family thing. In fact, our father is the one that he greets them all on the bus, and he gets back on the buses, and they know him as George. Everybody in this theater gets to, when they leave this show, feel like they're a part of the family, and they have a good time, and they've been entertained, and I think it just is a nice. I don't think you can compare the two. I think this is much more fun for the family and a lot more fun for our families.
Well, there's lots of things that are fun to do. I like to play off my brothers, particularly my brother Alan, who's not too bright up here, and it's fun to tease my brothers. I enjoy that a lot. And we get along really well, and we just have fun on stage. That's about all we do.
The advantages of being in a family music group has many reasons. The fact that we've been together for 36 years, we have a wealth of experience, a repertoire. We have a lot of various situations that we might get into that we know how to get out of, having been there before. But I think there's a harmony and there's a sound that we have. There's also experience and the dedication. We came to Branson, we're going to be in Branson, and we'll be here, and when we get up or down, and everybody has a mood swing or a career up or down, we've been through it all together. So we're not going anywhere without each other. So this is the Osmond Family Theater, and this is what we're doing, and I think there are a lot of advantages for that.
Rounding off the 1992 year and combining the talents of many of the country's great entertainers is the Grand Palace Theater. The Grand Palace entertains folks with special guest stars who make appearances to sold-out crowds daily.
The concept of the Grand Palace originated within the Silver Dollar City Corporation at a corporate think tank meeting in the late 1980s, 1988, 1989. The decision was made to enter the theater industry in Branson based upon the success of theaters that were currently here and other theaters that were being planned to be developed in Branson. So it all spawned from a think tank meeting in around 1988, 1989. The first show was in May of 1992. Construction of the theater began some 18 months before that, and had to. With 4,000 seats, this is Branson's largest theater, and this was quite a project for our corporate planners and for the design team that was brought in from around the country to design this magnificent theater and then to build it. The first show was opened with Kenny Rogers, Louise Mandrell, Glenn Campbell were the primary stars for that first ever show at the Palace. Southern Mansion theme was a theme that we had adopted again out of those corporate planning meetings. And so from that colonial or Southern Mansion theme came the design concept of the Palace. We felt that it architecturally fit with this region of the Mid-South, that it fit beautifully within its location here in Thousand Hills and its proximity to Highway 76, Country Music Boulevard. It was just a nice theme that we could develop architecturally. We are different than most other theaters in Branson in that we have a rotating schedule of stars. Typically our featured performance, which is a star that will be here for anywhere from 5 to 6 dates, could be a Kenny Rogers, Barbara Mandrell, or Louise Mandrell. They could be joined by any number of other stars, for example, Glenn Campbell or the Oak Ridge Boys or Sawyer Brown or someone like that. And then each Sunday is a very special day here at the Palace that we call Super Sunday. And we'll have names like Dwight Yoakam or Reba McEntire, the Everly Brothers, just a good variety, Bill Cosby, a good variety of the top entertainers in America play the Palace not only on Sundays but during the week as well.
Opening at the Jim Stafford Theater in 1992, the Branson Gospel Hour was created to offer a non-denominational Sunday morning service to the thousands of visitors in the Branson area. Now located at the Christie Lane Theater, the group performs each Sunday at no cost to their guests.
The vision for Branson grew in my heart when I began seeing the opportunities of multitudes of people coming here. And I reflected back on what we had done at the Grand Ole Opry. And so I came and met with Glenn Campbell and Joy Thomas and Jim Stafford, the Hershans, several people, and began to talk to them about what I wanted to do. Well, I got a positive feedback from all of them concerning the need for something like this to be done in Branson. I talked with Jim and Ann Stafford, and we made an agreement to use their theater last year. So we began our program in May of 1992. We had incorporated the program a year before, in May of 1991, in the state of Missouri as an incorporated ministry. But the one thing that I wanted to do was to be sure that we done our best. So we printed 100,000 full-color brochures up front. I went around and listened to the musicians to different shows in town, and we put together what we felt was one of the finest gospel bands in town. Now, first of all, I didn't have one single sponsor to do all of this. It must be done by faith. But I didn't know whether we'd have anyone here or not at the theater. But our first Sunday in May last year, when we opened the doors, we had about 700 people standing in line. So we knew that God was really in what we were doing. I've always felt that Jesus Christ was the most complete person who ever walked on earth. He ministered to the little children. He ministered to the attorneys and the doctors. So when we do a program, we like to cross the spectrum of every area of people's lives, from the little children to the people who maybe live in the big city, to the country people who like Southern gospel. We try to really, but most of all is to minister, to really minister.
1993 was an extraordinary year as theaters continued to move to the area, and at a greater pace than ever before. 5 new theaters call Branson their home, with stars such as Tony Orlando, the 5-Star Theater, and Wayne Newton, journeying to Branson to become one of the many talented performers to grace the streets of the ever-popular tourist destination.
Well, the reason we're in Branson is because we love music, and we were born and raised in Granby, Missouri, which is 70 miles west of here, and we've been in a lot of places. I worked for an oil field service company for 30 years, took early retirement, and we wanted to get back closer to home, so here we are in Branson. And of course, the music has a lot to do with that. Our show is unique in the sense that we have a rock and roll show rather than a country music show. Of course, there's a fabulous assortment of country music shows here in town, and ours is unique in that it's 50s rock and roll, not a country music show. We like and love country music, but we wanted to do the rock and roll show, so that's what we're doing. The thing about the 11 o'clock show is that, of course, there's not a lot of other shows in town at that time, and we thought it'd be interesting to try 11 o'clock. Plus, when Jeannie and I took possession of the theater in November, we got a lot of calls of people interested in being in the theater at other times, the 10 to and evening, 7 or 8 o'clock. So we thought it'd be, we had a band meeting and decided, hey, let's try late night and see what it does. So it's kind of an experiment, a test. Well, the show itself is, of course, mostly 50s rock and roll, and early 60s, by the way, which is similar music. 50s and 60s rock and roll. We do a lot of trivia prizes. We have a large light show, a good sound system, and it's fun. We try to have, we do the same thing that has happened here in country music, but we do it with rock and roll, 50s rock and roll, in that people have fun in the show. We work with the audience. They help us sing a couple of the songs, and we have wireless guitars, so we go out in the audience and they strum the guitar for us to start songs. Kids have a ball in here. I mean, little kids, 3- and 4-year-old.
Well, first of all, we started out as members of the Colorado Classic Thunderbird Club, and for one of the brunch activities at Christmas time, we got a bunch of the members together and decided to do a show. And so we got the microphones from our tape recorders, and we rented instruments, and we did all this, and we rehearsed for about a month, and we performed. But the same day, somebody was there that asked us to do another performance, and it just developed and it grew. And thus we have the name the Thunderbird Theater and the Thunderbird Band.
We're kind of unique in that that normally the band is named after the theater. In this case, the theater is named after the band because the band is named after the classic T-Bird car, which is where we really put a band together for the first time to start playing for the classic Thunderbird Car Club. You know, the 55, 6, and 7 T-Birds, and the band grew out of that, and the theater eventually came as a result of our interest in music through the band.
Broadway also came to Branson when the Pump Boys and Dinettes joined the ranks of America's top-rated entertainment, mixing both theatrics and music all into one great show.
Pump Boys is a lot of fun. That's what most people say when they leave, that they've had a great time, and it's a really happy show. It's an up-tempo show. Pump Boys is a story about 4 guys who run a gas station and 2 gals who run a diner next door out on the highway somewhere in rural roadside America, and it's kind of a slice of their lives. It's a little bit of their lives on the highway. All the guys play all the instruments in the show. There's 20 songs in 90 minutes, so there's a lot of music and not very much storyline, but the characters all talk about their lives out on the highway. So they're actually actors portraying characters in a story about this fictitious roadside gas station and diner. The music is everything from country to rockabilly to bluegrass. There's a gospel tune, a little bit of rock and roll. So there's a little something for everybody in Pump Boys. The whole band is on stage, and the gals beat on the percussion, the pots and pans for the percussion in the kitchen in the diner. So it's a lot of fun. We also have a dinner theater, so you can come and sit down and have a great meal and see a show all in one stop. The Pump Boys started off-Broadway, where it had about almost a year run off-Broadway, and then it moved to Broadway, where it played for 2 years, and it was nominated for a Tony Award for Best Musical in 1982. And then after that, subsequently, the show went out all over the country. It played for 5 years in Chicago. It's Chicago's longest-running musical in the history of theater in Chicago. It was played in Los Angeles and St. Louis and Anchorage, Alaska, Galveston, Texas, really all over the country. And this is our first year here in Branson. So the show has had really quite a long history. We like to think of Pump Boys and Dinettes, the show, as being the star of our show because it's had a history all over the country, and now it's settled down here in Branson, hopefully to find its permanent home.
The glamour and glitz of Las Vegas has also found its way into the heart of many Branson visitors, as the Barosini and Van Burt show opened at the Five-Star Theater. Mixing the amazing illusion and magical wizardry of Kirby Van Burt with the comedy antics of Bobby Barosini and his world-famous orangutans, making for a one-of-a-kind experience.
In Vegas, when we were performing, we had our own show, and then the last couple of years or so, we combined our talents together because I wanted to do a perfect family show. Not a kiddie show, but a family show. With Kirby doing the greatest illusions that this world's seen, and me with the orangutans from Clint Eastwood movies, I knew that when we combined, we're going to have the finest show in the world. So in the last 2 or 3 years, we combined it together, yes.
Bobby, for 20 years, was the most popular act in Las Vegas, and I, for 7 years, the past 7 years in Las Vegas, had one of the largest magic shows in the world.
And it's so rare to see two stars that were in Vegas for many, many years that combine a show like this that will create such a marvelous show for the family. Well, I used to live here in the 70s, and I knew Jim Thomas already. When he built this magnificent $15 million showroom, he asked me whether I could come over here and perform. So not only that I came back with the orangutans, I brought in the greatest illusionist in the world, Kirby Van Burt. And right now, we are right here, of course, now, and we're doing extremely well, and we're very happy to be here at Branson.
It's the largest production show in the world. It's a $5 million production show. There's 21 dancers, sets, costumes, illusions, lots of orangutans. The comedy is magnificent. It's hilarious.
Basically what we're doing, we are two partners that still doing his own stuff, and I do mine. We combine it, and we weaved all our talents through the show, so there is no Kirby Van Burt or Bobby Barosini individual. And it took quite a long time to do it. We're practicing for quite a long time to try to get this whole situation, this whole act together, so people love it and they see us combined instead of just being individual.
It helps being good friends.
On May 1st, 1993, fans began enjoying the talents of Wayne Newton in another new setting. Like Kirby Van Burt and Bobby Barosini, Wayne Newton entertained millions of Las Vegas fans for many years before making his move to the Branson area and building the massive Wayne Newton Theater.
Wayne, being known as the king of stand-up entertainment in the industry, of course being the king of Las Vegas for several years, decided to move to Branson, as it's obviously brought itself forward as being the stand-up entertainers capital of the world, with Las Vegas going over to more production-oriented shows, Atlantic City becoming more weekend-oriented for the entertainers. That left the whole market open for Branson, Missouri to expand and grow for the individual stand-up stage entertainers. Wayne being the king of those entertainers, obviously it was a good move for him to make a move here, settle down a little bit, maybe get off the road, keep his home here in this area and a home in Las Vegas, and settle down his lifestyle at this particular stage and enjoy it, enjoy himself and what he's done. We have fantastic lasers opening this show. Anybody that's seen Wayne's show in Vegas will obviously see a similar show to what he performed in Vegas. Branson being a different market altogether than Las Vegas, he'll adapt a little more towards the country origins from around this area. Wayne is always open to show up to suggestions for songs. He'll do anything from country to some of the old Frank Sinatra to Elvis tributes as well inside the show. Wayne's a type of performer that likes to drain himself for every performance. He'll give it his all. He'll interact with the crowd, and the crowd can ask him to sing a song for them, and he'll be more than happy to do it. We wanted something different. We wanted a big, proud monument on top of a hill for the Wayne Newton Theater. And that's kind of where we came from with the architecture with it. It's a nice, proud style that stands the test of time over the years, such as in the way many mansions were built in the old days. We look forward to having a lot of special shows in the future. We really like our objective in Branson here with Wayne Newton and our theater is we would like to be on the cutting edge and present new directions in which Branson can travel. Obviously, we have recently had a major nationally televised telethon for the flood reliefs and it went very well leading up to it. We have one of the most technologically advanced stages in Branson, and we pride ourselves on our stage capacity and what it'll actually do. So we're looking forward to maybe doing more productions, maybe televised type of things, bringing in maybe a lot more television in the future, and jumping on that and creating a new direction for Branson to help enhance its growth and provide more entertainment for the area.
The country music boom may be the reason most people journey to the area. However, once in Branson, there are no end to the possibilities. Family fun and entertainment is the theme for the area, and family fun you'll have, from museums to amusement parks. The possibilities are endless. Many people have heard of Branson, Missouri. However, many do not know the history of the area. And what better way to learn about history than a trip to the local museum? At the Harold Bell Wright Museum, you will not only learn more about the Branson history, but you will enjoy a truly educational experience.
The museum was actually done by Harold Bell Wright's only living son, his youngest son, Norman. Norman is now 83 years of age, but at the time he set up this museum, he was 74, I believe. He actually he felt his father was a great American and worthy of a tribute. And so when he talked about setting up the museum, people in Tucson, Arizona really wanted him to bring it there, because it was in Tucson, Arizona that most of Harold Bell Wright's books were written. Norman, his son, felt that his dad really got his start right here in the hills of the Ozarks. And that is the reason that he chose this site. Of course, this Mountain Hollow area was actually named by Harold Bell Wright in the book, and much is written about the Mountain Hollow area. This is kind of a unique museum. This is what we call a sound-guided museum. And the voice of Norman goes around the museum, tells people all about all of the exhibits. We do have a 27-minute motion picture also depicting the life of Harold Bell Wright. And of course, this is a wonderful picture. The reason it's so professionally done, Norman Wright, for many years, was with the Walt Disney Studios in California. And he says that making the movie was the easy part. Setting up the museum was a whole new ball game. But it's very beautifully done. We have both a 27-minute sound tour of the museum and a 27-minute motion picture, so that our customers, when they come in, we advertise that there is no waiting. And that is true, because if the museum is going, if the theater is going, then we put them in the museum. It's all coordinated to come out at the same time.
History also comes to life at the Wax and Historical Museum. History from many parts of the world and from many memorable eras have been brought to the Branson area at the museum, with such events as the first man on the moon, the assassination of John and Robert Kennedy, and many other historical events being represented. Wax representations of Roy Rogers, Henry Ford, and many other famous personalities are also on display, along with over 100 life-size figures depicting the life of Christ. Opening their doors for the first time in 1993, Branson is now considered home to the Civil War Museum. Welcoming visitors of all ages, the museum invites you to come and enjoy the day while viewing the many Civil War artifacts on display throughout the museum.
I began collecting Civil War just sort of by accident when my wife and I took a trip to Washington, D.C. approximately 13 years ago. And we became interested in antiques at that time. So I decided I'd like to have maybe a Civil War musket or a sword to hang on the wall just to accent the house a little bit, or in particular my office. So I found out that collectors and dealers get together primarily along big cities of the East Coast, and they buy and sell and trade Civil War objects. So I went to one of these shows, which was held in Richmond, Virginia, about 10 years ago, and that's when I became interested in it and soon became obsessed with it. Well, I'd heard about Branson for a number of years. I'm originally from Texas. The collection consists of objects from both the Union and Confederate side. I have a lot of things from many different states, or most of the states, at least the states who were in existence in 1861. And Branson is sort of the place where North and South converge on each other these days. So as far as a collection, it made sense to put it in Branson, not only because there are things from the North and the South, but because there's an adequate tourist base to support the museum. Well, we have original battle flags, northern battle flags, as well as southern battle flags. We have uniforms, we have firearms, swords, personal items carried by the soldiers. We have just really a little bit of everything here displayed where people can understand what the soldiers carried and what they wore. We have instructional videos on infantry and artillery, plus we have a theater in the back of the exhibit area where we show reenactment films every hour on different battles. We change out battles every day. So a visitor here can really get a good feel for what the war was about with respect to what the men carried and what they wore and what they ate and how they lived back then in 1861. And we also have in the museum, in the exhibit gallery, what we refer to as the Applewhite Ladies Gallery. And that is a collection of dresses and accessories that the ladies wore from beginning in the mid-1700s all the way up through the late 1800s. Very nice collection of things for the ladies to look at.
Boxcar Willie fans may also enjoy a trip to the Boxcar Willie Museum. The museum features many items donated by friends, fans, and various entertainers, along with his airplane and railroad collection.
I had the museum in Nashville for several years, but when I opened the theater up here in Branson, I increased it tenfold because I had things stacked in boxes and shelves and barns and garages and under the beds and in drawers that I didn't have room to put in Nashville, so I just built a brand new building. And I built it in 1989, or 80. I started in 88, finished it, so it was open in 1989. And it's a wonderful museum. My museum is an attraction by itself, really. We don't bill it as an attraction, but the people who go through there tell me that they have never seen a better museum anywhere in the world. And that makes me feel awfully proud. I've got some one-of-a-kind things in there, and I mean major, major things, like Jimmy Rogers' great Martin guitar that he used to record all of his blue yodels with back in the 20s and the 30s. I've got a Hank Williams suit and hat in there that Hank wore on stage. I've got Elvis's rocker that he bought for his mother when she was alive. I've got a cockpit of a KC-97 tanker, and I've got a great Roy Rogers display in there that Roy personally gave me all these things. And it's a beautiful museum and train memorabilia from the world over. So it's really an attraction in itself, but we don't bill it as that. But the people who go really do enjoy it, and they say, hey, it's one of the best museums we've ever seen.
Many tours are given throughout the area, all at no cost to the visitors. You may select a guided tour of Table Rock Dam and the Ozark Potato Chip Factory, where you may view the whole potato chip process from start to finish.
We have anywhere from 200 to 400 people a day come through our shop. So it's kind of unusual. We're off the beaten path. We do very little advertising. The majority of our advertising is done word of mouth. When they come in, we keep them in our potato room back over here. Then we'll go into our peeler. We'll fill up the buckets, 2 buckets at a time. There's 30 pounds in a bucket. So we'll wash and peel 60 pounds of potatoes at a time. We have what they call a little old GI batch type peeler. It'll wash and peel 60 pounds of potatoes in about 20 to 30 seconds. After they're washed and peeled, we have a slicer that's on a swivel that comes out over the shortening. We slice directly into the shortening. That's really what makes our chips different.
Families will have no trouble finding activities to suit any taste, as there are as many children-oriented activities as there are adult ones. Whether you enjoy a day at the track, where you'll find everything from bumper boats to go-karts, an exciting run through the maze, a trip through the thrill bubble, or a daredevilish jump from Outback Bungee, there will be something to please every member of your family.
We have 5 different locations to offer them. At this location, which is track 4, we have 36 holes of miniature golf for the adults and children. We have go-karts, regular go-karts, which can be ridden by anybody 54 inches tall or taller up to whatever age. We have the twin-engine carts, or the fast track. Requires a driver's license to drive those. We have a bumper boat pond that 6 years old and older can ride. And then we have a little kids park with basically 3 through 6 years of age, Ferris wheel, different types of little children's ride. And we also at that location have a 9-hole golf course for the children to play.
We have the Cinema 180 Thrill Bubble, and this is a giant-sized screen which is 30 feet high, and it wraps 180 degrees around you. And whatever's showing on the film, you feel like if you're actually experiencing that scene. We let you ride roller coasters and fly helicopters and do all kinds of fun things. Well, it's a 3D concept is what it is. You do not wear the glasses. It involves your whole body. Your whole body wants to start doing whatever's on that screen. Neat. It's fun for all ages.
Well, bungee jumping is a sport developed in Australia. What you do is you jump from a very high platform attached to basically what is a series of rubber bands, between 400 and 500 of them, and you jump off a tower and extend those. The rubber band will extend up to 4 times, and what you get is an experience of going from 0 to 60 miles an hour in about 1.5 seconds. Okay, what we are is one of 26 towers located nationwide. And those 26 towers have jumped 500,000 flawlessly. What we wanted was something to offer unique to Branson that fit in well with our outfitter store and our Australian-style restaurant. So in our trips to Australia to discover unique things, they found that bungee jumping was a safe and fun sport over there, and we wanted to incorporate that in the Branson area.
Oh my God! Oh my God!
Branson is also saturated with water activities to suit every taste. You may choose between a cool glide down the cool-off water chute, a tropical adventure at Whitewater, a splash into Table Rock Lake aboard the Ducks, or an exciting ride aboard the Lake Queen. Whichever you prefer, one thing is for sure. Your water sports are more than covered, and everyone is assured a fantastic vacation.
We got the cool-off water chute. It's a water slide. It's 520 feet long. Great entertainment for children of all ages and families of all ages, people of all ages. The youngest has been 6 months and our oldest 82. So we've had lots of fun, and the people have had lots of fun in the last 18 years. This was the very first water slide that was ever built. So this is the original. This is the granddaddy of them all.
Whitewater Park, located on the 76th Strip, is a tropical adventure and paradise, featuring a dozen family fun rides. Cruise along the lazy river, or take a spin down the tropical twister. Enjoy the refreshing water as you take in the island music and plenty of sun. But don't forget, the wise tourists will bring along lots of sunscreen to protect them while they enjoy their escape to a tropical getaway.
You are looking at an original World War II DUKW, and we call those the Ducks. The D stands for the years that they were built, 1942 to 1945. The U stands for utility type of vehicle. Of course, it's an amphibious machine. The K stands for front-wheel drive, and the W stands for rear-wheel drive. DUKW is what we call the Ducks, the amphibious machines used between the years 1942 and 1945. Now, that is also when they were made. They were put together by GMC. Most of them were put together either in Pontiac, Michigan or St. Louis, Missouri. Altogether, there was about 22,000 of these 7-ton machines put together. During those years, 1942 to 45, most of us menfolk were overseas fighting. It was the women who built most of these ducks. I think, is it Rosie Riveter, I think, is that the right term for it? So women had a big hand in building them. Of course, the running joke is, because the women built them, that's the reason they've lasted all these years and are still used today. Of course, we're never, ever supposed to mention that it's because women never drive them that they've lasted all these years. So I'm going to be the last one to bring that little fact up. This company itself, Ride the Ducks, the original Ride the Ducks, started back in 1977. Bob McDowell and his father, Jack, and his mother, Noriko, all got together. They saw one of these machines, decided to give it a try, because back in '77, quite a few less things, businesses and attractions in the area, a lot more just natural, natural beauty, of course, a lot less populated and all. They decided that these ducks that could go from land to water and back to land again without any change at all, just kind of turned into the steering wheel, depending on which way you went. They decided back in '77 this would be a good way to tour the Ozarks, and for those Ozark Mountain visitors that do come to the area, it'd be a good way for them to tour the Ozarks, land to water, back to land. So we started out back in 1977. It's been running ever since. The tour itself is about a 70 to 75-minute tour. 15 minutes or so of that tour, you're actually out on Table Rock Lake, kind of floating around. And, of course, all during the tour, you get to see the area, get to see the sights. We'll show you the back roads and all.
Right in the heart of downtown Branson, we have two major cruise lines. One of them is called the Lake Queen, and the other one is called the Sammy Lane Pirate Cruise. The Sammy Lane Pirate Cruise is the oldest continuously operated attraction in the state of Missouri. It dates back to 1913. And for a long, long time, those boats have been carrying folks for beautiful sightseeing cruises up and down the Lake Taneycomo. And actually now it's called the Sammy Lane Pirate Cruise. We changed the name to reflect it as being the Sammy Lane Pirate Pageant. And folks will cruise down to the Boston Ridge Gold Mine. They'll pick up the Ozark Gold, maybe even visit with our dim-witted miner called Elmer. And then they'll try to bring that gold right back to our dock so that we can take it to the bank. But folks, there's a mean old pirate on this lake, and he's going to do his very best to try to take that gold away from you. But don't worry. We've got veteran captains, and they'll do their very best to protect you. Even if that mean old pirate happens to shoot his cannon, several times he's even poked a hole right in the bottom of our boat and water's come flying out. But don't worry, we'll get you back safely. Now, the Lake Queen has been around since 1959. The Lake Queen really is a landmark on Lake Taneycomo. It's been around so long, and we tried to figure out a couple years ago how many passengers the Lake Queen had carried. Probably carried almost 1 million passengers, and maybe traveled almost 250,000 miles, all up and down Lake Taneycomo. And so it's been around a long, long time. The Lake Queen is completely Coast Guard inspected and licensed, and all of our captains are licensed too.
There are various attractions throughout the area, which will take you off the beaten path and straight out into nature. Everyone enjoys the 76 Strip, the hustle and bustle, but you will also enjoy a trip out into the natural beauty of the Ozarks.
Well, we have trail rides, and where they go on an hour canyon ride, and then we have breakfast rides in the morning, where they've gone for a couple of hours, and all the breakfast they can eat out on the trail. And then we have a steak dinner ride in the evenings, steak, baked potato, all the trimmings and everything. They're gone about 2 or 2.5 hours. And we get them back in time for their shows. All the shows start at 8 o'clock here. We get them back a few minutes before 8 so they don't miss any of their shows. We're building another little town that's by the lake on the other end of the ranch. We're going to have a 6-mile train ride. And you can ride the train up, you can ride the stagecoach up, or you can ride the horse trolley up and get on the riverboat and go across the lake to the little town, or you can go horseback. A lot of the old folks want to ride the train, and the younger people can ride the horses, and they'll go horseback and leave about an hour earlier and make the trail around the mountain and through the canyon and back. And we all meet up at the big chuck wagon in the big meadow, and the other folks ride the train or go on the hay wagon. And we all meet at the chuck wagon and eat steak together and listen to the band and everything, and then we get out of there just a little before 8.
Souvenirs come in all shapes and sizes in the Branson area. Shopping for contemporary goods and handcrafted items is leading the way to the year-round tourism. Visitors rank shopping second, only to sightseeing, in most frequently planned activities. And it's no wonder. The selection suits every taste and budget. Long known for its large population of extraordinary handwork, hundreds of talented artists and crafters live and work in the lake areas. People have been coming to the Branson area for decades for its quality handcrafted wares. It's a reputation that has helped the area to grow and prosper over the years. Food is part of the fun, and you'll be tempted to try it all during your vacation here. Branson is famous for its variety of entertainment, and it's just about as versatile in its eating establishments. Country foods are the favorite, but the variety spans much further. Many Italian, American, and Australian restaurants draw their share at mealtime. Whether you sit down to a long, leisurely dinner or your favorite fast food, you won't leave the table hungry. Serving comes in all styles too, whether you choose family style, cafeteria buffet, or full-service dining. You can depend on courteous assistance and delicious cuisine. Despite persistent rumors to the contrary, there is room at the inn. The little town with a big reputation for family entertainment boasts 14,000 rooms, and more motels and hotels being added regularly. A few years ago, Branson was indeed outgrowing their accommodations, their highways, and their restaurant facilities. However, that is all a thing of the past. Today, Branson's development has risen to the demand, accommodating more visitors than ever before and keeping pace with the town's reputation as the #2 motor destination in the country. The region also offers more than 6,000 campsites, allowing visitors their choice between the comfort of a campground or RV park to roughing it at a lakeshore in their tent, allowing everyone to choose just the right campsite for their own particular taste. Have you heard what they say about Branson traffic? There's lots of it. There has been lots of traffic in Branson since tourism began in earnest more than 30 years ago. If you've been here before, you already know that. And if you're visiting the Branson area for the first time, you shouldn't be surprised. Your fellow travelers are in thousands of other automobiles, vans, trucks, campers, and motor coaches than you've probably ever seen in one place. But what you may not know is that Branson highways and streets are in constant expansion, with many new streets and highways opening each year.
It is very important to all of us in business in Branson and living in Branson that we keep a harmony with nature, that as the community develops, it develops in a way that maintains the scenic beauty of our area, that maintains a quality of life for the people who live here that is still attractive. This involves a lot of things. It involves being able to build sewage treatment plants. It involves building new roads so that we don't have the traffic congestion. All of these things are underway. They're taking place. This is also the kind of a thing that will help us ensure that we're ready for tourists who choose to come here in the future. We will have the facilities to accommodate them. We will have enough motel rooms, but we'll also have enough street capacity for them. Movement of traffic has been a major consideration, a major concern for Branson for the last couple of years. As the volume of visitors has increased, we've tried to do the things that we need to do to make sure that we can accommodate those visitors. We've had several new roads opened in the past 2 years, serving the central part of the Branson area. One of the most exciting new projects that's going to come online within a very short period of time is the Ozark Mountain High Road, which will provide a loop completely around the community so that traffic bound for Table Rock Lake, for example, or Silver Dollar City will not have to come to the heart of Branson, that they can approach from another angle. It will also give us 6 new ways to get to places along Highway 76 without having to be in the line of traffic to get there.
I think Branson is one of the most diversified vacation spots in America. We not only have country music shows in Branson, but we have pop music shows in Branson. We have rock shows in Branson. We have Broadway plays in Branson. Fishing is absolutely fantastic here. You can go within 20 miles in any direction and get some of the best fishing in the world. There's so many things for kids to do, like I noticed the go-karts, the bumper card rides. We have arcades here of all kinds. And they never have to worry about finding a motel room here. And we have some of the nicest RV parks in the world here. So where else could you go, you know, to have such a wonder? And I see people just walking up and down the street. There's no very little crime here, if any. You're safe here to walk up and down the streets. Just an all-around great place to come and vacation.
Now's your chance to win an exciting 3-day, 2-night trip for 2 to America's music show capital, Branson, Missouri. For your chance to win, simply fill out your second chance certificate enclosed in each specially marked video, or send a 3x5 postcard with your name, address, and phone number to the address on your screen. Participating attractions include Shepherd of the Hills, 5-Star Theater, Waltzing Waters, 76 Music Hall, Pump Boys and Dinettes, Mo Bandy, Roy Clark, Thunderbird Theater, Campbell's Jubilee, Outback Bungee, Crazy Horse Ranch, Branson Civil War Museum, and many, many more. So don't miss your chance to join the stars by getting your entry in early. And while you're filling out your entry form, why not check out the many new and exciting programs available through American Vacation Videos.